Hey guys, Alice around here. Today I'm going to get straight into it. We're going to be talking about the glutes, the booty, the badonkadonk, whatever you want to call it. That is what we're going to be chatting about today. Because so many women come to me and they're like, my glutes are not growing, my quads are overpowering the movement, my hamstrings are too strong, I don't feel my butt, it's not getting any development, and I see all these girls on Instagram, they've got these amazing butts, posting amazing selfies, and clients and females are coming to me and saying, how do I get that? Why do they have that and I don't have that? So I'm going to help you guys today grow your booties. Okay, so I've got a couple of my top tips that I'm going to help you with on this topic. The number one thing that we want to focus on when you are growing a butt is progression. Progressive overload, progressive in your sessions, progression in what weights you pick up, progression. Okay, now the reason I say progression is that your body is going to adapt and get used to a certain stimulus. Certain aspects of training need to progress. Now that doesn't mean changing up your exercises every single week, because your body does need a course of 4 to 8 weeks to really respond to a cycle of training. But at the same time, adding more resistance, adding more load, making something harder, making something more challenging. If your butt is not growing and you are not focusing on progression in your training, this may be one of the problems. If you're someone that doesn't follow a program, you just kind of go into the gym willy-nilly, this is when you run into problems. So a key is really focusing on a program that follows progression throughout training. This is what I do with my clients, with all of my training programs. We're focusing on getting to a point, progressing, and then setting those next goals and moving forward. So you can progress in many ways. That might be in volume, that might be in frequency, that might be in your actual training style, exercise choice, so many different ways of progressing. But definitely make sure that you're progressing if you're hitting a plateau with your glute training. All right, guys, number 2. Starting too advanced. So this can be a big one for beginners in the gym. I know there's a lot of ladies out there who have just started lifting because they want to grow a butt, they want to get into the gym. I get it. That used to be me for sure. And you're probably seeing all these Instagram babes out there posting all these videos. No shade to them. I am not throwing shade. But what I'm trying to say is where they're at, where I'm at, I've been training for almost 10 years, is going to be very different to somebody coming in and starting for the first time in a gym. So understand where you're at, okay? Because you're going to get great benefit off the most basic exercises, okay? Whereas for someone like me, I'm not going to gain as much benefit on those exercises as what you will, which is a good thing. It just means that you can start with less volume, less frequency, less time spent in the gym and get amazing results. Because again, we want to focus back on point 1, which is progression, okay? So starting off, so what I mean by that is a beginner might do 10 or 12 sets of glutes a week, maybe training them twice, spreading that out over 2 sessions. Whereas someone more advanced might be pushing, 3 times a week, maybe hitting glutes for 15, 20 sets, all of these styles of progressing volume. Now, if all of this volume, frequency, progressive overload is confusing you, then absolutely hit down in the link below and I can help you understand this a lot better. This is what I do as a coach. But a lot of females don't understand this. They see posts on social media or Instagram and girls aren't explaining how to actually make that progression, how to understand sets and volume, which is how muscle growth actually occurs. They're saying, do this exercise, do a few kickbacks and your butt will grow. Well, it may not. It probably won't if there's no actual structure behind that training. So the number 2 tip, like I said, is start where you're at. If you're not advanced, don't start advanced. Start with the beginner movements, nail the fundamentals. Simple exercises like side band walks and banded work before you actually start touching any weight is a great place to start. And also make sure you can feel your glutes when you're doing those basic exercises before you add weight. If you just go jump on under a squat bar, and I hear this all the time, a lot of girls will say to me, I don't feel my glutes when I'm squatting and deadlifting. Now, number 1, those exercises are not predominantly for the glutes, but there will be high levels of glute recruitment during those movements. There is ways that you can optimize glute activation throughout them, but at the same time, you want to make sure your butt is firing before you get into those big lifts. So if you're not feeling it and you're squatting and deadlifting now, maybe take them out for a little bit, focus on some more activation work, and then come back to it when you're a little bit more advanced. Your perfect is bang on and your glutes are firing. Number 3, when people are not focusing on tempo or form, I would say technique is the most important variable when it comes to glute training. Now, if your video does not look the same as some professional showing you the movement, look back at it, see what you need to change, see what you need to do. I love my clients sending me training videos because then I can really understand where the problems lie, where we need to focus on, what are the coaching cues. Does that client need to maybe abduct their knees, push their knees out, drive their hips in? Maybe they're hyperextending and going too high with their hips. and understanding how we can tweak that movement pattern to suit their physique. Because your biomechanics and the biomechanics of someone else are going to be completely different. We all have different lever lengths, we all have different torso lengths and quad lengths and arm lengths. They're going to affect movement pattern. So understand that as a coach, we help people with this. And this is what I do with my clients online, send videos, assess that, give feedback so that they can get the best glute activation for that exercise. Or if they're not feeling it and they're doing it right and they're still not feeling it, maybe change that exercise up to something that might suit their physique a little better or their experience level. So training technique. Do not add more weight until your form and your tempo is bang on. So the speed of the exercise. Are you rushing through it? Or are you going nice and controlled with the movement? All right, number 4. Not enough frequency. So frequency is how many times a week you train the glutes. It might be in the course of a month, in a week, whatever your cycle is of training. I tend to look at it in the course of a week or a 7-day rotation with clients. And for a beginner, that might be 2 times a week. For more advanced, that might be 3 or 4 times a week. Doesn't mean you're doing sole glute focus sessions, but it means you're hitting the glutes with maybe either some activation or some volume or some intensity on those days of the week. Train your glutes more. Your glutes will actually struggle to get really, really sore. They are a big muscle group, but at the same time, they have more muscle damage in a stretched position. So what I basically mean by that is if you have a lot of lunges, a lot of squats, split squats, Bulgarians, anything where you're stretching and lengthening and the load is in that stretched position as opposed to a hip thrust and more hip extension movements, you're going to be more sore, okay? I'm sure some of you listening to this are more sore after you squat or after you lunge. Is because of that. So it's making sure that with your programming and your training, which is what I do with my clients, is disperse that load. So make sure we're not doing all stretched exercises on one day as opposed to the other. Otherwise, they're going to be really sore and then it's going to be hard to train with that high frequency that we want to do for glute growth. All right, number 5, probably the most important one. Are you eating enough calories, okay? That is a big one. If you want your booty to grow, you've got to eat calories. For the last 3 years, I have focused on eating outside of a caloric deficit, so eating in a caloric surplus. Okay, so focusing on eating more calories is going to help your booty grow. Do not be scared of carbs, do not be scared of food, ladies, but understand how much food you need for growth. You may get a small amount of fat gain, but let's try to optimize that body composition and have mainly muscle growth by eating the right amount of calories and macronutrient breakdown. Okay, so what I mean by that is it doesn't mean you can just go YOLO and start eating all the food in the world because you want to grow more. Growth happens at a certain rate. For females, we grow muscle very slowly based on our testosterone levels and other variables. So we don't need to then throw in all this food and bulk, so to speak. But really understanding how you can optimize minimal fat gain and muscle growth whilst you're on a training program and nutritional regime. But the big tip is nutrition and training go hand in hand if you want growth or if you want fat loss. You can't really do one without the other. So if you're training hard and you're doing all of this stuff, you're still not seeing results, are you eating enough? That might be a variable to look at and get assessed. Looking at your protein intake, your carbs, and your fats. You may not be having enough carbohydrates to then facilitate that growth with use of protein as well. So guys, I really hope you enjoy these 5 top tips on why your glutes maybe not be growing and some tips on how you can improve that. This is what I do as this area I'm so passionate about, as you can tell. So guys, if you have any questions about this, you can always jump over to my Instagram at @AliRound or at my business page, which is at @team_round. If you have any questions or you need help growing your booty and you need a more structured periodized plan, then simply hit the apply now button below and we'll have our team get in contact with you very soon. See you guys.